And with that news out of Lancaster County, First Alert 6 did some digging into the signature collection process here in Douglas County. Philip Catafamo joins me now live from the newsroom to break down how our local election commission verifies these petitions. Good afternoon, Phil.
Hey, good afternoon, Dave. To be clear, the findings in Lancaster County will not impact past petitions like medical marijuana because those have already been processed and voted on. Every petition, including the ones being verified right now, go through the same process used across Nebraska. Douglas County Election Commissioner Danielle Jensen tells me the first step is looking at the top of the petition to see if the circulator was paid or a volunteer. Next is verifying whether the circulator and notary public's information is correct and confirming dates on the petition are also correct and match up. The county then goes line by line looking at names, signatures, dates of birth, and address. If two of the three match, the signature is checked to make sure it lines up with the printed name. Jensen tells First Alert 6 there are several ways to verify a legitimate petition signature, even if your handwriting isn't the best.
So we're going to, look at things like maybe they've hand printed an application. We can compare that writing as well. But just really, we're looking at it to make sure that it does seem at least similar, but also giving, the benefit of the doubt and the fact that they had to sign it on a clipboard. They're standing up. It's not the best signing circumstances.
Each petition has to hit a certain percentage of valid signatures depending on what is trying to get passed. If a problem does come up with a signature or something suspicious, the county attorney will be notified. It will then be up to the county attorney and that local sheriff's office on a potential punishment after an investigation. Now, Jensen tells me the situation in Lancaster County is a good example that the system is working and the processes that every county around Nebraska use are catching stuff just like this. In the newsroom, I'm Philip Catafamo, First Alert 6. Back to you, Dave.
Yeah, great look behind the scenes there, Phil. Thank you very much.